When did it start recording, you know?
I don't. Because this one has the one that stays.
Okay, yeah. I'll keep an eye on the red light.
Yeah, I keep on the red. It's a red light. Yeah,
it's back there. Does it say recording?
Yeah. I'm going to have y'all take it from the top just in case.
All right.
Okay. Guys.
All good.
I want to welcome y'all to another episode of Fuck You Money.
Yes, indeed.
Ty and Yo. That's Ty, I'm Yo. And we here, where we at, Ty?
Miami, baby.
Back in Miami again?
Yes.
It's going to be like the Fuck You Money headquarters.
I don't know. Maybe. I love Miami.
Yeah. It's always been pretty good to us.
Yeah.
So we was discussing potential themes for this episode this week, and Ty had an interesting one.
Yeah, it's privileges that don't feel like privileges.
Can you explain that to us? Because it seems like an oxymoron.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. It's almost like if your uncle was like Uncle Scrooge, right? Like you have this, like I know my cousin probably feel like this because you may have like somebody that because you gotta think we black. So like if you come up with somebody and they get on or they get hot or they get more resources or whatever it is, they go to the league.
Right.
Being around them, they got more resources than your typical family member.
Right.
But if they make you do like just extra shit just to be able to get access to it can feel like, man, it's a privilege, but man, he be making me work out hard.
Right.
But in actuality, it builds character. Right?
It almost makes you second guess. Am I going to ask them for this thing?
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're going to just hand it to me.
I'm telling you, man, I have seen this interview with Will Smith and Jada Pickett's brother. He made this nigga do something, I can't remember what it was, that basically trolled him. But I think it was just like making sure he did a lot of books that he gave him to read.
Uh-huh.
And he had to read the books in order to be able to like be on set or something. It was something wild. It was something that,
wow.
It wasn't really wild, but it was just like interesting to read. Like, oh shit, you intentionally made him do extra shit just to be able to get on the set or do whatever you want to do. But you know what I mean? But you have recently came upon a privilege.
It is a privilege. It took me about 10 years to get this privilege. It goes back to high school. I met one of my really good friends, and something that had been consistent throughout our whole friendship was that his dad worked at Delta, and he had promised his son that he was going to make sure he got him on to get a job. For about 10 years, I seen my boy work every job but Delta. I was waiting for the Delta privilege to kick in. Like, when is it going to activate? About a year ago, it finally happened. He got on. My man got the job. And after 10 years of friendship, really good friendship, he was like, I want to bless you with my companion, as my companion. Now, I didn't really know what that meant, right? I just thought that meant I can go to the airport and fly anywhere, anytime. I think specifically anywhere in the United States you can fly free.
But it's like food stamp buddy pass.
Yeah. And I think if you want to leave the country, you just got to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So that's what I knew, all right? So I thought if I'm in the United States, I just got to go to Delta. They're going to just hit me on a flight. like, this is my name. I know this is my boy. I should be good to go. Man, I tried that one day.
He put up at the airport like his VIP line. Like you for the magic. Hey, boy, tell my partner come out again.
Yeah. He know the pilot. Like, come on. But when I said that lady looked at me crazy, trying to explain to the lady at the front desk that I'm on this companion. Like, nah, check my man's name. I'm not even in Atlanta. I'm in New York. Trying to get back to Atlanta. And this lady was like, why had to buy the ticket? Like, I had to... Because
it's a whole process.
I did not understand. Bro, he has to do... Bro, I thought I could just say my name at Delta and I was going to be on the flight. He has to go in and it's a process.
Yeah.
So after the failed attempt, I was like, let's figure this process out. So what I did not know about the Buddy Pass was priority. And how once you go into the app to check in, you got to check in with your priority. And because my boy just got hired, I am the lowest priority.
You're the bottom of the bottom.
Like, I think it's like S3B or something.
Yeah. So you can kind of like, I think the companion pass, I think you get like 3 S1s per year. And basically what an S1 is, it puts you at top of the list no matter what your how long somebody else been saying there. Because everybody else is kind of like S3, S3B, kind of that. So if you say, okay, can you make me an S1, it puts you at the top of the waiting list. It doesn't matter how long somebody's been working. Now what changes is if somebody that has been working long say, yo, I need to get up, can you make me an S1? And people usually use that so they can kind of almost guarantee they get on the flight.
Right.
And so that's something that helps with your priority if you didn't know that.
Now, you were S1?
No. Everybody's an S2, S3.
Gotcha.
But the S1 is what you can upgrade to. It's like a buddy pass, wait list nigga upgrade.
It's like a step up.
Yeah, definitely like a VIP thing.
So, but it's interesting, like being the lowest priority and you're on standby. So if you don't know what standby is, everyone boards and then it's about how many seats are left available. And I've done this enough times now where I've flown first class.
Yep.
I've been at the back of the plane.
Oh, yeah.
On the Rosa Parks.
Oh, yeah.
Recently my dad wanted to go to Virginia. So he bought a ticket. He bought a ticket for my aunt, but he was like, do you want to go? I was like, yeah. So they boarded before me. He had texted me, let me know when you get on the plane. I guess he assumed I was going to be behind him because they in Comfort Plus. Like, he's like 15.
Yeah.
I'm 12. I walked past him.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's some benefits to this. You got on first. I'm next to first class. Yeah. I'm right there. So I've experienced like how this privilege it's a beautiful privilege, right? I can't say I miss paying for flights.
I definitely don't miss paying for flights.
I don't miss it, but I've slept in LAX.
That's the privilege that don't feel like a privilege.
No, sir, it did not that day. I've been in the airport probably more hours than I've been in the places that I'm going at times. I want to ask you, I know at one point in time you've taken 100 flights a year, but how many hours do you think you spent in the airport?
Man. How many hours is in a year? So we know how many hours in a day.
Yeah, that's an excellent question.
So that's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Then that's 24 times 5, right? So yeah, right. So it's about 8,760 hours in a year. Right? So when you do the math, Vanessa showed the math. I ain't no math magician like that. But it's pretty much 8,700 hours in a year. Where I probably spent about a third, probably about 25% of that in the airport.
Wow.
I spent a lot of time in the airport missing flights. Sleeping overnight, traveling, but missing flights.
Yeah.
Scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, if I take the layover here, I can get there. I can still get where I need to go. It's a whole little thing. And I had access to the thing so I can move faster. Versus you got a companion pass, you got to call them, unless you just go to the counter like, yo, can you move me this? Can you do that? And they can do it for you at the counter.
But it helps to kind of have access to that information. Yeah. Because again, it's about seating. So anytime where I feel like I've been delayed enough times, he'll hit me and be like, all right, are we going to come up with a new plan? So that means go here. It's got this many seats. Yeah. Even coming to Miami, I flew companion, and I get to the airport for a 1:30 flight, but the flight has now been delayed until 3:30. Oh. So again, now the plane is full by the time it's all this stuff roll around. So now I'm in what I would consider like purgatory, where you are just rolling over and rolling over and rolling over. So I'll text him and be like, I didn't make it. Yeah. I didn't make it. He was like, well, maybe we could do Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale's a good airport.
You know? Yeah. And I was like, let me wait on one more. And I'm sitting him like, okay, they got 19 seats remaining. I'm number 23. All right, let me see if I won't make it. Like, this is pretty much all yesterday. We just texting back and forth, trying to figure out, like, the math of this thing. And then there is a satisfaction when you do get on a flight that you just feeling like you barely made it. And then it's a blessing when you got a window seat because you don't know, you might be sitting in the middle. You don't get a chance to pick your seat. You might be, you know what I'm saying?
Ain't no privileges with these privileges.
That's what I'm saying. Like some of the most things that people might overlook when you buy a flight, like getting your seat or picking where you like having that opportunity feels amazing when you don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you sitting in a position that, or you got the exit row, or maybe you in the emergency lane. Like there's so much that kind of happens that you don't have no more control over.
So from a learning experience, lesson like principles and like characteristics and character building, what are you learning through this privilege that don't feel like a privilege?
Show up before time.
Timeliness.
You told me you need to be on that first flight.
Yeah.
That first flight is at 6:30. You need to be there because you told me most people miss that flight.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's like life too. Most people not gonna get up early if they
It's
after
crazy.
whatever
They'll
you
book the flight, but they miss it.
100%. So there's been times where I'm like, the 9:30 flight's enough, right? It's not 6:30. It's 9:30. Then be the time I be in the airport for 6 hours because they don't miss the 9:30. And then they don't miss the 11:30. They don't miss the 2:30.
Nah.
Now you've been there for 6 hours because you didn't make the 6 a.m. So not only timeliness, but like very like hyper specific about getting up early and being there first, showing up first. I also feel like I've learned a lot about people. Like that's all you do when you're in airport is people watch. So I kind of watch the way people kind of carry themselves. I watch the way people dress. I watch the way I see unprepared people. I know who has never been to the airport before.
Yeah.
I know people that has like, they show up, this is what they do. And it just kind of taught me about how you even showing up for anything. Like when you have experience, you got a different kind of preparation about yourself. You can move through something. Some people like panic in the airport, especially Atlanta. That's big.
Yeah, Atlanta
people get
airport,
lost. Versus being able to maneuver that. I've seen you go to the airport like this shit's your house. Like,
that shit definitely my house.
Ty walked to the airport like, like it's a
house.
welcome mat. But I've seen
100%.
people like stumble and drip and lose things. Like,
so this concept of, because you always thinking about like, I know with me and my experience in the airport, flying buddy pass and standby, that I learned patience on a way deeper level. Because when I tell you, when you standing at that thing and they're like, they done boarded everybody and they calling people, and if they ain't come, they gonna drop their seats. And you look, and it's one seat left, but the people in front of you is a couple. And they gotta decide, are they just gonna let that seat go? Or they gonna say, you know what, you jump on it, I'll catch the next one. Right? And I've seen both of them experiences. And to be sitting there and you just waiting, you just hoping that they wanna stay together. And then they don't, you're like, fuck.
Right. Don't leave her.
Yeah.
Don't leave her.
Like, I know, I'm like, leave her. Like, but it's one of those things where it taught me privilege and how such a really important benefit comes with ups and downs, right? Money comes with ups and downs. Having successful parents comes with ups and downs. It literally taught me that privilege ain't really a privilege if you don't have the right perspective. You know what I'm saying? So like when we start talking about like on this episode, like the privileges that don't feel like privileges, you know, we might have a different perspective on rich kids.
Right.
Because we looking at it as like, your dad's rich. Like, you grew up rich.
Right.
They're looking at it as, man, your life seemed a lot more cooler than my life. Right. And what it taught me about that experience with the buddy pass was that, man, you can have a privilege and there are ups and downs to privileges. So this was even before having resources and being successful in business. I would be like, man, I get to fly free. Yeah, I might have to get to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I might fuck around, depending on how busy the airport is. I might be in that bitch all day trying to get to LA so I can pursue my dream, right? And we don't think about like how the privilege is tough. Because we've been deprived for so long in so many different, elements. So we get a privilege, we can easily let us being deprived for so long have a negative connotation and a bad perspective on what that privilege actually is and can be for our lives, right? You can be abusive of it. So you just think about the concept where it's like you never had no money come around, or somebody around you come around with money. You're more likely to abuse it because you don't realize that this is a privilege to even have this amount of money come through your hands, right? And when you abuse it or people start taking advantage of you or trying to take advantage of you, you realize like, man, this privilege don't feel like no privilege no more because I thought having money was gonna make me happy. But now I ain't happy. I'm stressed out, feel like niggas gonna rob me or try to take something from me or this chick gonna try to trick me out or set me up. All the thoughts go through your head.
You don't know if people actually like you for you. You don't know why people treat you a certain kind of way. And to your point, it's the things we attach to these privileges, these expectations that we attach, especially from the outside looking in. Someone might assume someone with money just has it all, right? That you can just do what you want to do. You never got to struggle. Like, how dare you complain about anything? You're rich. I feel like I've always seen that whenever something would happen with like celebrities. And they were like going through something, people are like, why are you crying? You're rich.
You're rich, yeah. I have this thing I'm working on within the company. It's like niggas being too free. And the concept of being too free is we grew up business-wise outside of the music business infrastructure. Still was a part of the music business because you're selling music, right? But now when structure comes in, people think that being an entrepreneur means that you can do whatever you want to do. People think being independent or being boutique, you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to do what artists at the label do or artists that sound like, no, nigga, that ain't how this works. You got to do what makes you successful. Rather you sign to a major label or you're doing it yourself. And it created this dynamic that I've been speaking about with my team. It's about like, let's not be too free. Because motherfuckers that's too free not disciplined. When you're not disciplined, you miss the mark. You know what I'm saying? You miss the mark on where you're supposed to be at, what time you're supposed to be there, how many days you're supposed to be there, what you're supposed to bring when you arrive there. You know what I'm saying? You miss the mark on those so many different places. So I think that in order to understand a concept like fuck you money, you have to understand a concept like privileges that don't feel like privileges.
Because I think essentially privileges often feel like you're freer than someone that doesn't have privileges. But what you're pretty much saying is there's freedom, but like if you take that for granted, then that privilege is not really a privilege or it's going to backfire on you.
You know, you've had people that burn out where they get so much success, start doing more drugs. You know, they're speeding, drunk, like all these different things where all of the privilege ends up being to their detriment. And I think that when we talk about what's the concept of like this sense of being well and having the ability to remove yourself from things that don't service you, comes with a certain level of discipline and a perspective on whatever the privilege is that you have. Because if you have the privilege to remove yourself from something that don't serve you, there's a negative that's going to happen from that as well. You're removing yourself and now you're more at peace, but you might have lost money, right? Because that where you was at was bringing in some money, but you was able financially to move away from it and not take a hit on your lifestyle, or still take a hit on your lifestyle, but you're happier because you're not dealing with the bullshit.
You mentioned Will Smith earlier. Do you know what was going on before the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with him?
I just know the dude was rapping.
Yeah, well, the second album, Grammy, won the first rap Grammy, highly successful, sold very well. they got too successful as far as like mentally. So they decided to take the third album, and I think they went to like the Bahamas or something.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of recording, they just pretty much partied for like weeks. Like they ended up having to call Will's dad because it got out of control. Because they were like, we're artists. This is what going to inspire us. That album bombs. Not only does it bomb, they weren't careful with their money. So now they're broke.
Yep.
The album failed. You know, back in the 90s, you flopped. Your career is pretty much over.
You're gonna drop your ass.
You know what I'm saying? Will was hanging out with the wrong people. So even like certain friend groups was going down. And he felt like he did not know what to do. So he borrowed some money and went to LA, had a girlfriend out there, and she pretty much encouraged him that he needed to get up and do something. Like, you gotta do something. She told him to go see the Arsenio Hall show and just sit in the stands, right? And that's what they did for about 30 days. They went to Arsenio Hall and just met people, just networked. He ended up meeting Medina while he was out there. And Benny was the one that brought him on to Quincy Jones's birthday party. Yeah. And that actually ended up making the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah. Once he gets on TV, he knows he does not have a second chance to fuck this up.
No, he don't.
You know, like fucking up the music really taught him that you can squander the privilege. I mean, you got the awards, you got the name, you have all the things going for you, but they were too free when it came time to work on that next album. And they felt the effects of that. Yeah. So by the time it's time for Fresh Prince, he's hyper-focused and hyper-assured that I'm not going to have that, like, backside again. And I remember reading that, really thinking about how artists sometimes can feel like I'm so successful, there's no failure after this. Yeah. I'm too high to fall. Yeah. And they felt hard.
Man, it's so crazy, right? Because I want to interview Benny Medina. Right, because I know Benny, and Benny funny as shit. But when I first got introduced to Benny, I had no clue who he was. I didn't know about no Fresh Prince of Bel-Air shit.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know about none of that shit, right? So one of my mentors, Cersei, Cersei know all the old niggas that's successful. All the niggas that's been around and been super successful, he knows them. Or he know of them, right? So I'm like, yo, you know this nigga named Benny? He was like, Benny Medina? I'm like, yeah. He said, nigga, that's that motherfucking nigga. I'm like, for real? I'm like, that nigga crazy. I fuck with him. Because when I first met him, he was like just getting off a call. And I haven't seen this type of call except for in the old record business. Where you just see somebody like really, really sternly like give everybody hell on the call because they know what the fuck they talking about. And then get off the call and act like that motherfucking call didn't happen. And I was like, yo, this nigga crazy. I told her, I said, well, you crazy? You crazy as hell. I like you. That nigga that crazy. And we've been cool ever since. I got to actually text him. But I didn't know about that. Or Arsenio Hall story, Will Smith. That's crazy how life works.
And that's the first time he met him. He was like, I might have something for you. I'm going to call you in a couple of weeks. And Will, because I read this in Will's book. He said, in LA, you hear that all the time. Oh, we're going to do lunch. I'm going to call you in a couple weeks.
Niggas are definitely gaslight you, the motherfucker.
But when it came back around, he was like, come to Quincy Jones's birthday party. So he comes to Quincy Jones's house. And Quincy's like, oh, it's a Fresh Prince. He tells him, we want you to audition tonight in front of all these people. This is at Quincy's birthday. Will has never acted before. So Will's kind of like, I might need a minute. And he was like, come over here, Prince. This is Quincy. He pulled him to the side.
He called him the Prince.
Come over here, Prince. So he's pretty much telling Quincy, like, yo, can I get like a week? And Quincy's like, well, in a week, Justin over there, he's probably going to have to reschedule. So he's like, oh, I get 2 weeks. I get an acting coach. I'll be ready to go. And Quincy's like, well, Sarah probably going to have to go to a birthday party. So he probably want, like, Will, it dawns on Will that he's like, if it doesn't happen tonight, it's not going to happen. It's like, you got to do this now. And I'll never forget this. Quincy tells him, you can't have paralysis through analysis.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Yeah, you know, that Quincy lives by that.
Quincy is that motherfucker.
You can't have paralysis through analysis. So it's like, the more you think about this, the less likely it is to happen. So you just got to go out there and do it. he went out there and auditioned. And I think the speed in which Fresh Prince happened was because of that night. He knocked him dead, and Quincy just started pulling people. He was like, do you got a lawyer? That's your lawyer. You got to, like, whatever you needed to get this show, like the show memo, everything was built off of that audition that night in Quincy's house. Benny made the play for him, but, like, yeah, like, I mean, man, Will Smith's book was pretty good. I read it this summer, and there's just certain tidbits. That was the thing that I really took away from it, but I love this part. So Will's like, all right, I get a second chance. Jazz, come to L.A. Come do the show. Jazz is like, oh, I don't really want to do TV. Because he spent his money building a studio in his mom's basement, so I can make music in Philly. Will's like, our career is dead. Come do TV. And he was like, okay, look, man, just do 3 episodes. And if you like it, we'll work on music in LA. But, like, hey, I really need... It was so funny trying to watch someone else convince somebody else to do something
that everybody else can't even get opportunity to get.
But Will understood that Jazz was not there at Quincy's house. He did not see how all of this happened like this. He was like, bro, you got to understand, in LA, plays happen at birthday parties. At dinners, at diners, like
that is a shirt, nigga.
He was just
in
like,
LA plays happen at birthday parties.
So it's like if he was there, maybe he would have understood the magic of that night, but just him not really seeing it. And I think about that sometimes, is that Ty might have an experience and you might understand something, and you might be trying to convince somebody else that wasn't there, so they might not see it the way you see it.
Yeah.
But you might have saw a privilege. You're like, hey, bro, like, if we come over here and do this, it's gonna work like that. And he might be like, nah, Ty, that don't really make sense to me, man. I don't really know. That don't really sound like a privilege to me.
Yeah.
But that was like what I really got away from that book is, you know, you can bounce back, but not everyone's gonna kind of see the money play until, you know, they show up. And Jazz ended up being one of the culturally
relevant parts of
their show.
No, it revamped. It definitely rebranded them in a different way for that duo.
Yeah.
And that show went on to like 7 seasons.
Yeah, I think it's like 6. I think it peaked at 6.
That's crazy.
But, you know, and I just think that the privilege of even being able to go to like a show like Arsenio and just sit in the crowd and just network, right? And some people might be like, you just go in there every day. And he's like, they did it for 30 days. They just went and sat in the crowd and met people. Like, just even recognizing access like that.
Yeah. This is a nigga that's famous.
He's already famous.
He don't want a Grammy.
He might
hit records.
You know what I'm saying? He might not have been up in his career, in his mind, right?
You in LA, so LA is a different type of famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like, you know, like Tom Cruise and them type of niggas in LA. Like, so you famous, but you like a C
exactly.
famous.
Damn, you're right? Like this. You're a rapper.
Yeah, it's like movie. You're a rapper like in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Or the 90s, whatever that shit was.
Hey, like, I guess I never really thought about that, like, status-wise,
where
you are on the totem pole. But, you know, again, like, once you do TV, and then I think...
And this was before hip-hop was popular.
Yes.
So, you know, this is rock, roll, punk, all that shit out of there. I mean,
he wasn't even considered a top-tier rapper as far as, like, being regarded and highly respected. Like, he had some hits, but... It felt like he was like bubblegum pop.
Yeah, I don't think Death Row was around. I think NWA was around.
All this is like developing at the same time that Fresh Prince is really like working. And again, like their album flopped, so they're not even in conversation with like the Tupacs,
they're
the
not
Biggies.
Even,
you know what I'm saying? You're already kind of like aged out or you've already kind of been passed over in a lot of ways. But again, being able to have that rebrand and jumping into like a new avenue with I'm not even saying they were certain it was going to work, but they needed something at a certain point because, you know, again, the privilege of just being an artist, they kind of squandered. So they had to regroup.
Had to repurpose.
Had to repurpose. And with some discipline and intentions, like.
I think it's important to speak on that, right, for this episode, to my privileges that don't feel like privileges, but repurposing talent. You know, to be able to access another layer of life so that you can go back, because he still ended up making music, you know what I'm saying? Ended up coming back making bigger hits. It probably was corny that people might see, like, you know, some of these things were corny, but still was able to repurpose, come back, make bigger records, you know, and still keep growing as a TV star.
The Fresh Prince theme song.
Yep.
Think about it. That comes from being a music artist. The Summertime record, like their biggest hit, came after Fresh Prince had started.
100%.
They also say that once Fresh Prince kind of helped legitimize their finances, going back to make music without the pressure of the music having to work, the music having to make money, allowed them to kind of take the pressure off.
Yep.
Their comeback album was highly revered.
Yep.
And then it's like, again, that talent of having music in Will's like back of his mind, Men in Black, like it kind of kept reoccurring.
Yeah, that album, that first Men in Black album, that soundtrack did really well.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Multi-platinum.
Yeah.
And again, this is all because they had a history of recording music, making music, and never quite lost that love. He just he was able to apply it to a new field.
I think Steve Stout put out that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a Steve Stout record on Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, this concept of repurposing, really being able to take advantage and leverage opportunities, I don't think people understand the impact of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I've realized, and this is a part of, like, Fuck You Money, where let's say that you want to be a journalist, but, like, a film producer opportunities just keep finding you. And you don't do like Will Smith did and embrace it. You're like, man, I don't want to do this shit, man. I'm trying to be a journalist. Right? And you keep, like, pushing that opportunity down, right? I think the universe starts to push opportunities away from you as well, right? Because it's a mirror. So there's artists who get opportunities early to do certain things, and they think that, oh, man, I don't want to do this. This is where my heart is at, right? But they don't realize that the universe is going to keep sending you opportunities because you keep taking opportunities, right? And the more and more you take the opportunity serious, the more and more the universe see that you're serious about opportunities, and then more serious opportunities come there, right? And I don't think people understand the concept of, if you are in love with this one thing so badly that you start turning down other opportunities that can actually help you grow financially, as a person, whatever the case may be. Like, for instance, I never imagined doing music, ever, growing up. It wasn't until getting into music, I stopped playing football in 2007, right? So from basically 97 to 2007, I played football. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know what I mean? So that's literally like, what, 10 years?
Yeah, not just 10 years, like 10 like formative years.
Yeah, like we're talking about like pretty much all of middle school, all of high school, all of college, and going into a professional aspect of it. Never thought about music. To the point that in 2008, when I was like, man, I ain't playing football no more, 2007, I gotta figure this out. 2008, I got curious, started trying to look into like managing producers. By the summer of 2009, I was like, yo, no, not the summer of 2009, probably the top of 2010. I had got finessed a couple of times. Like this whole thing where I thought somebody was gonna hire me as an A&R, but they really just was fucking flexing. Then all of the turn, I was like, yo, these niggas is evil. They treating people rap. Bro, I'm going back to sports. So that's when I started my management company based in branding and management, because it was gonna be like a sports management company, August 2010. So I was like, man, fuck this shit. I'm finna go back to sports. And the NFL lockout hit. in the final season, in the end of season 2010, NFL lockout hit. And it pushed me back to music, so that's how I ended up stumbling upon Daddy Nino, a.k.a. Forte Bowie. And then I started just working there, so that was 2011.
Wow.
Working with Forte for a year, by the summer 2012, All Gold Everything hit. Then Trinidad hit. Then all these different things happened. Now, it's 2023. From 2000, I'll just say 2010. I took a 13-year detour to get back to what I really love, which is sports. I don't really like music like that. I like the people that help people kind of like build a business around music, because I do enjoy building businesses, right? But that shit took me around the world to get here now, being able to do sports, and I can do it the way I think I want to do it today, versus prematurely having to be like, yeah, man, I'm a just, you know what I'm saying, I ain't gonna be an agent because I don't got no degree yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, just be a manager, help kids with their nonprofit, all these different type of shit. But now, older, wiser, a little bit more paper, and I can actually, you know, go and potentially be more successful in that, because it's something that's been on my life for as long as I can remember.
Can you tell me why managing producers, though? Was it like a particular itch that you saw?
No, because at that time, records was selling, they wasn't selling no records. So everybody was like, if you want to make the money is in the copyrights. So I was like, well, shit, let me learn about copyrights. Let me learn about publishing. I ain't finna be goddamn going into the shit and trying to convince something. I'm gonna stick with, they said the money's in publishing, I'm gonna go to publishing. That's how I started learning about the music business, trying to learn about publishing, because that's what they said, that's where the money was.
The money was, right. That's so why you came in with records weren't selling.
Yep.
But the idea of publishing was still like, there's money there.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Then you still was trying to do football, but then you got the NFL lockout. So that was like a block. You just completely got blocked.
I was talking to all the big agents at the time. I was like, literally, I had a client with the Philadelphia Eagles, named Trevor Lindley. I was working with him. I knew his brother from college, so that's how I got connected with it. It's crazy now that, like, you know, when you start thinking about how life works, that's why I'm saying, like, privileges that don't feel like privileges. Like, for instance, working in music in a position that I have, like, been blessed to be in, don't always feel like a privilege. Because you got to convince motherfuckers not to do shit that's going to harm themselves. You got to talk to motherfuckers you know that only want to talk to you because of something that you're attached to, not because they're genuinely trying to learn you or get to know you or build a genuine relationship with you. Right. So, like, all of this shit be feeling like it's a privilege, but you don't know what's real, what's fake. You don't know who's genuine, who's really trying to, like, you know, be involved with what you're doing, your natural growth. So even working in music, being successful in an industry like music is a privilege that don't feel like a privilege.
I don't know if it looks that way to people on the outside looking in.
Yeah, no.
It's like music is like the greatest privilege, like to be in the entertainment industries.
Yeah, no, because I never even was understood anxiety until I started, like, really moving around deeper into the music business. I ain't know about anxiety when I was playing sports.
I kind of feel the same way.
Like that, like, it's something like, it's things that you're aware of. Yeah. That like all the hard drugs and shit like that. Like, when I be seeing black people do cocaine, I be like, that's crack. That ain't no motherfucking cocaine, nigga, that's crack. You a crack baby. Like, because in my brain, that's what when you grow up and you see what crack did to black communities. Right. You don't think about cocaine, you think about crack. Right. Heads. I got uncles and, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see crackheads in Southside, on the West Side, West End, like, growing up in Atlanta. So I'm like, I'm not putting that shit in my body, it's a crackhead. But when you get into this business, you start seeing, like, all these different lifestyle choices that people make. You're like, this is a very interesting thing. But once again, perspective, being able to take certain things away from it. Like, with the Delta Buddy Pass.
Yep.
Privilege that don't feel like a privilege.
Yep.
You can pull the positives out of it.
Yep.
Or I can go take this meeting tomorrow if I need to. I can do all these different things. And you're looking at the glass that's half full
Yep.
and not half empty.
Yep.
That's the approach that I had to take with the music business, where I'm like, you know what? I don't like none of this shit. I'm gonna see, can I build my own world in it, but right outside of it, where I can be able to say, nah, we don't really operate like that over here. Nah, we're not gonna let nobody get taken advantage of. We're gonna turn a blind eye. That ain't what we're doing. We're gonna make some people uncomfortable. And even then, it still feels like it's a privilege. That's not a privilege.
Can I ask you this? What is the biggest difference between athletes and artists?
The biggest difference between athletes and artists, in my opinion, is athletes work harder on their craft in a more disciplined manner. And they have to do the work for years before they can be privileged to make money off of it. A music artist can start making money off music when they're 14 years old. 15 years old, they can sign a deal. They have a guardian and shit like that, but they can start making money. Athletes know that they have to go to the gym even if they don't feel good. Artists are like, I'm not inspired today, right? They're not gonna force themselves into the work, their gym, right? Whether it's a studio or write music. Athletes, musicians can do it longer. There's really no time, especially now, on how long they can like exploit their talent. But they still have just as big as audiences as each other. It's just the artist is singular focus, where the athlete is on a team or some level of a team. You know what I mean?
They can end up in the same arena.
Yeah, they do be in the same arena.
Yeah, same crowd.
You know, Madison Square Garden, drinking that bitch 5 dates.
Yeah.
The Knicks play there. The Lakers have played there. LeBron have played there. Every legendary basketball player and or athlete, or musician have played there.
Yeah. I can't cite the source, but I read recently that inspirations for amateurs, that the real professionals is showing up and doing it when you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. It's a lot of shit I do from a business perspective that I'd be like, man, I don't want to do this shit. But I'm like, boy, I gotta go get some of this money though. And it's not always attached to money for me. It's about the access and the privilege to be in a very time-sensitive opportunity experience, right? Because you don't know when that opportunity is gonna expire. So me, I'm like, I gotta get this. It's a window of opportunity. I don't know when it's gonna, I don't even know if it's doing this.
Yeah.
But it's doing it. But I don't know how fast it's doing it. I don't know.
Because you're aware of time. It's not like time
1,000%.
stops.
No, I don't stop.
Because if time stopped, then there is no closure. But because time is this ever-moving, ever-changing entity that we can't see, we don't know how long that. And it might be so narrow you can't even climb in it no more.
Listen, man, if you get an opportunity to have a privilege, figure out the pros and cons to your privileges, take full advantage of it, try to share it with as many people as you can, rather it's sharing the information or being able to share some level of the opportunity, because you never know what the cutoff is on the privileges that you're gifted with. That's why it's called a privilege. You didn't really work for it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't work for the right to have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else did that shit.
Right.
But we are able to benefit from the privilege of having the driver's license to be able to drive around in whatever car we want to get, to be able to get from point A to point B so that we can be successful or whatever we're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
So, and they'll take that privilege away from you if you abuse
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean,
I've never had my driver's license. Knock on wood, I can't afford to lose that thing. But I hear what you're saying. And I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely spot on. Yeah. I mean, I think what Ty just said was just, I think we can kind of close it out.
Yeah. I mean, fuck your money. We are super, super happy that people are tuning in to season 2. Hope you're enjoying season 2. Every show we're trying to talk about different topics in unique ways. Mm-hmm. Some of this shit might feel boring, but all of it is gonna be informative. Cause we're gonna give you some of that fuck you money.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? And until next time.
Until next time.